Welcome to the mystical world of the four heavenly kings and their incredible weapons. Join us as we explore the magic and might of these gods and their mighty powers. Get ready for a journey into legend. Wen Tian Wang. Think of him as one of the four big bosses who look after the directions of the world. Wen Tian Wang is in charge of the East. These big bosses, or heavenly kings, are a major deal in Buddhist beliefs, and you'll often see their giant statues guarding the entrances of Buddhist temples. Now let's talk about Wen Tian Wang's cool gadget, the pipa. It's not just any musical instrument. It's a jade pipa, which is like a traditional Chinese guitar. But this isn't a normal pipa. It's magical. This jade pipa can control the weather and elements. Imagine being able to make it rain or shine just by playing some tunes. Plus, in some stories, it's said that this pipa can also make people feel sleepy. That's quite a power to have, right? But why is this important? Well, Wen Tian Wang isn't just a strong guy with a magical instrument. He's a symbol of how people have always tried to understand and control nature. By giving Wen Tian Wang this power over the elements, the stories are showing us how important and awe-inspiring nature is. And the sleepy-making music, maybe it's a way to show that nature can be soothing and overwhelming at the same time. Wen Tian Wang's role as a guardian is pretty cool too. He's not just hanging around, he's actively protecting his direction of the world. That's a big responsibility, and it shows how much respect people had for these figures in mythology. Throughout history, the title Heavenly King has been used in different ways. In some periods in Chinese history, like the 16 Kingdoms period and the Southern Song Dynasty, leaders called themselves Heavenly Kings. But those guys were real people using the title to sound important. Wen Tian Wang, on the other hand, is part of a religious and mythological tradition that's much older and deeper. In a nutshell, Wen Tian Wang is a fascinating mix of power, responsibility, and connection with nature. Whether he's standing guard at a temple or controlling the weather with his jade pipa, he's a reminder of how people in the past saw and respected the world around them. Plus, the idea of a musical instrument that can do all that is just plain cool. It's like having a superhero who uses music instead of super strength or speed. Wen Tian Wang's story shows us how myths and legends can be full of imagination, respect for nature, and the belief in something bigger and more powerful than ourselves. Zang Tian Wang. Zang Tian Wang, often called the Southern King, is a fascinating character in Chinese myths, especially in stories related to Buddhism. He is one of the four heavenly kings, and each one looks after one of the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Zang Tian Wang is the protector of the south. Let's talk about his amazing sword, the Qingfeng sword. Imagine a sword, but it's not your average everyday sword. This one is straight out of a fantasy tale. The Qingfeng sword is not just a weapon, it's a symbol of magic and mystery. The sword has unique engravings on it which are not just for show. These symbols are said to hold extraordinary powers. Picture this: with just a swing or a chant, the sword can summon strong winds. But that's not all. It gets even more fascinating. The sword can also call forth a serpent that breathes fire. Imagine how awe-inspiring and a bit scary that would be. This serpent isn't just a small flamethrower, it's a massive creature, spewing fire as it slithers. This shows just how mighty and otherworldly the Qingfeng sword is. Let's think about what this means in the stories. The sword isn't just a tool for fighting, it represents something much bigger. In Chinese mythology, objects like this sword are often connected to the forces of nature and the universe. The Qingfeng sword, with its wind-summoning and fire-breathing serpent, is a perfect example. It's a way of showing that Zang Tian Wang isn't just a warrior, he's a guardian with control over some pretty wild and natural forces. This sword adds a layer of depth to his character, showing that he's not just about physical strength, but also has a connection to and control over elements of nature. Now let's talk about how this fits into the bigger picture. In these myths, weapons like the Qingfeng sword are not just for battles. They're symbols of power, magic, and the connection between the earthly world and the mystical realms. This is a common thing in Chinese myths. They often connect their characters to the forces of nature, showing how these ancient stories see the world around us. But Zang Tian Wang is more than just a guard of the south. He stands for things like growth, nurturing, and the powerful forces in nature. His sword, the Qingfeng sword, means he can control these forces to some extent. This shows how in these myths, gods or divine beings are seen as having some power over nature. The idea of heavenly kings has been used in different ways in China's history. In times like the 16 Kingdoms period and the Southern Song Dynasty, real-life kings used this title. But when we talk about the four heavenly kings, it's more about religion and myths, especially in Chinese Buddhism. This title was also used in other countries that were influenced by Chinese culture, such as Korea and Vietnam. There, it could mean legendary or even divine beings. In these stories, the heavenly kings are very important. They are not just powerful beings, they also teach us about the culture and beliefs of ancient China. They show how people back then viewed the world and their place in it. They mix the real and the mystical, giving us a glimpse into a world where the natural and the supernatural are closely linked. This is what makes Wen Tian Wang and the other heavenly kings so special in Chinese mythology. They are more than just characters. They are symbols of how ancient Chinese people understood the world around them. Guang Tian Wang. This mythical figure is like a superhero from ancient Chinese culture, especially important in Buddhism. So imagine four tough guys, each in charge of guarding one of the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Guang Tian Wang is the boss of the west. His name means broad-eyed heavenly king, which makes sense because he's supposed to be super vigilant, always keeping an eye out for trouble in his territory. Now, the coolest thing about him is his special gear, the Hunyuan San. Think of it like a magical umbrella, but way cooler. In stories and TV shows, this isn't just any umbrella. It's a powerhouse that can cause chaos and even trap bad guys. It's like having a superhero gadget that can control the elements and capture villains. In art, Guang Tian Wang is often shown as a strong, imposing figure. There's this really old sculpture from the 18th century that shows him looking majestic. He's got a sword, well, the handle of one, in one hand and a pearl in the other. Plus, he has this awesome beard and a face that means business. The sculpture is so detailed that it looks like he could jump into action at any moment. The idea of a heavenly king has been around in Chinese culture for a long time. It's not just a religious thing. Some historical leaders and emperors used the title too. They wanted to show that they were super important and had the gods on their side. It was a way of saying, hey, I'm not just a regular ruler, I've got heavenly backing. Guang Tian Wang's role as a guardian and his magical umbrella show how religion and legends mix in Chinese culture. He's like a divine protector, keeping an eye out for any spiritual dangers and helping out those who follow Buddhist teachings. And in modern stories, his umbrella adds a cool, mystical twist, making him even more intriguing. So there you have it. Guang Tian Wang, the Western king, is a blend of guardian, divine protector, and mythical superhero, all rolled into one. His story tells us a lot about Chinese culture, history, and religion, and how these elements have been woven into exciting tales and art over the centuries. Duo Wen Tian Wang. Imagine him as one of four superhero-like figures in ancient Chinese stories and Buddhism. Each of these four big guys is in charge of guarding one of the four main directions: north, south, east, and west. Duo Wen Tian Wang is the boss of the north. Now, his name is pretty cool. It means much hearing or all hearing, which gives you a clue about his powers. He's like the ultimate listener, always tuned in to what's happening around him. But here's where it gets interesting. In some versions of his story, he's got a divine ferret helping him out. Yes, a ferret. This isn't something you find in old texts, but more in modern takes or artistic interpretations. The ferret is probably a symbol of his sharp senses and quick responses. In most traditional Chinese temples, though, Duo Wen Tian Wang doesn't have his ferret sidekick. Instead, he's shown holding a golden pagoda. This isn't just a fancy tower. It's a big deal in Buddhism. The golden pagoda stands for the Buddha's teachings and sacred stuff related to Buddhism. So when Duo Wen Tian Wang holds this pagoda, it's like he's saying, I'm here to protect Buddhism and its teachings. When artists create statues or paintings of these four heavenly kings, they make them look really strong and impressive. And Duo Wen Tian Wang, being one of them, is no exception. If you walk into a Buddhist temple, you might see these huge figures near the entrance, and they're there to remind everyone that these kings are guarding not just the temple, but the whole Buddhist universe in each direction. So, what's the big deal about these kings, including Duo Wen Tian Wang? They're a major part of Chinese stories and Buddhism. Each king has his unique style and tools, and they're all about fighting off evil and spreading good teachings. Duo Wen Tian Wang's different symbols, the ferret and the golden pagoda, show us how stories and characters can change in different cultures and times. Over time, the way people have pictured and talked about Duo Wen Tian Wang has changed. This shows us how stories and beliefs can evolve. Whether he's shown with a ferret or a pagoda, Duo Wen Tian Wang is a symbol of protection, strength, and the importance of spiritual teachings in Chinese culture. And that's the wrap on the awe-inspiring weapons of the four heavenly kings. If you loved diving into these legendary tales, hit like, subscribe for more mythical explorations, and drop a comment sharing your favorite weapon. Until next time, keep the legends alive.